We're going to talk to you about what we do in year 1 for the RSE curriculum. So firstly, the reasons that things have changed over the last few years is there has been an increased amount of Ofsted inquiries into sexual abuse, an increased amount of peer-on-peer abuse. So in order to combat that, the curriculum has been just amended.
The current curriculum for sex education actually falls quite nicely in with our science curriculum for most areas. For example, in year 2, they learn about animals, including humans, and how they have offspring that grow into adults. They learn about the fact that animals reproduce, but not how reproduction occurs. And then in year 5, they revisit this unit, and that is where they start to learn about not only the fact that they reproduce, but how animals reproduce and the changes that happen to humans and our bodies from birth to old age, and that includes learning about puberty.
So within the curriculum, there are a couple of elements. So within the primary relationship education, the focus is about teaching the children those building blocks and characteristics of positive relationships. And it pays a special attention to references to friendship, family relationships, and relationships with other peers and adults. So what we cover is families and people who care for us, care and friendships, respectful relationships, and it also covers that online relationships and being safe.
In the primary health education section, this focuses more on our physical and our mental health. So we look at how we can keep ourselves healthy through fitness. We also look at internet safety and keeping ourselves safe online, which again is something that we look at outside of our SRE curriculum. We also look at drugs, alcohol and tobacco and their effects, as well as a bit of basic first aid and the changes to our adolescent body.
So sex education, it's not compulsory in primary schools, and the content set out in this guidance therefore focuses on relationships education. However, the department continues to recommend that all primary schools should have a sex education programme, and that's tailored to the age and the physical and emotional maturity of the pupils. It should ensure that both boys and girls are prepared for the changes that adolescence brings, and it draws on knowledge of the human life cycle, which is set out in the National Curriculum for Science about how a baby is conceived and born. And the teaching methods that we use need to take account of the developmental differences of the children.
So at Greenridge, we have adopted the Christopher Winter Project as our programme of study for SRE. And this includes age-appropriate content from reception up to year 6. It means that the children are gradually introduced to the same topics, but at their age-appropriate level, and each year group will have 3 RSE sessions per year.
So for year 1, the first session we would have is looking at how to keep clean and how to look after ourselves. So within that, the children, we explore different feelings. We talk about morning routines, what they can do on their own and what they need help with. And children are shown different objects that they would use to clean themselves with. So some of the resources and pictures we might use are just some things that the children should be really familiar with. What do they use them for? How do they help them to keep clean? So the first session is very much about kind of keeping clean, looking after themselves in that way.
The second section, or the second lesson, introduces the concept of growing and changing. And this is where we look at how babies become children and children then grow up to become adults. We also look at the differences between boys and girl babies, as well as looking at our feelings and discussing how these change, and we learn about growing up. And again, some examples of the resources that we might use. These would be introduced to the children in an appropriate way, as an opportunity again for us to discuss some of that important vocabulary, such as male, female, private parts, penis and vagina. And again, this is another example of some of the resources and pictures that we might use when we are talking about how babies grow up into children and children grow up to be adults.
And then our final lesson within year 1 is looking at different types of families and who to ask for help. So we talk a lot about who the children can go to for help when they're hurt, within school and outside of school. And we talk an awful lot about different types of families, different makeups of families, what children do in their own families. So we talk a lot about those family relationships. And again, there's lots of different pictures we might use as prompts. We'll use things that the children bring in, the things that children share from home about who's in their family, how they celebrate. And the children have been encouraged right from reception to talk about the differences in their families compared to other people. In terms of questions, obviously you can't ask questions now, but as always, if there's anything that you want to ask us about, if you want any further clarification, then just come and see us at school. We'd be very happy to answer anything. Thank you for watching.